Welcome, ladies. Thank you so much for joining us here at Zeta Live.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank
This
you.
is so exciting for us. This is our first conference back since the pandemic. It's amazing, to get to be here live in person on this stage with you all. Are any of you back to the office?
I am. I returned to the office this summer, so I've definitely I've practiced, and now it's getting easier. I go in about 3 or 4 days a week in the city. But it's been great to be back with colleagues. We all learned a lot being home and being much efficient, and we were able to be virtual, but now it's great to be back with colleagues too.
And how about you, Jene?
So back in the office in a hybrid sense, as I sense a lot of people are. We have started to go back into the office, but one of the things that hasn't come back is travel. And so, a lot of my work for the last 15 years has been international travel. So that definitely has not come back. Although now, even traveling into the office is like, it seems like a big, I have to pack, I have to get my laptop. I mean, it is a journey.
Yeah, we fall off our game, totally.
Yeah, so it's getting back slowly.
And how about you, Sydney? What's the policy at Luxottica these
So
days?
we are not formally back in the office yet, but we've actually been traveling. So we haven't started international travel yet. But we've gone to the West Coast a few times, which is technically international travel, but not formally in the office yet. So it'll probably be hybrid when we go back, but we're still kind of just waiting and feeling it out. So
Yeah, it's really amazing thinking back to what we thought, just 18 months ago, and the way that we used to work, especially as marketers with our teams, the way we used to do creative reviews and do quality controls and all of these things, and we thought we could never do that virtual. And now, look at where we've been. Are there any aspects of the employee experience that you're carrying forward, as we come back, the ways you've optimized?
Yeah, I can start. I think because we weren't in the office together and we missed those drive-by conversations and those ways to build team camaraderie, we instituted a lot of shorter, more frequent meetings, so almost a daily stand-up. And I think we're going to keep that as we move forward. It's just a great way to keep in touch. It's fast, and I think everyone feels a lot more connected.
How about you, Jene?
I think, first of all, it'd be great if we could actually start Zoom meetings on time. I feel like we're all kind of, everything is condensed. But we did institute, or I did personally, Zoom Free Fridays, which was nice.
I like
so
that.
it's a good balance. I'm a big fan of Zoom and what it has done. But it's also nice to have a little bit of a break. So I think we'll keep the sort of convenience and the ability to sort of accelerate the number of meetings you can get in one day by Zoom, but then also balance it out with good old-fashioned conference calls.
Yeah. Same for you, Sydney?
yeah, for us, so my company is based out of Milan, and so we typically would have a lot of conference calls. This was pre-pandemic. There were not a lot of Zoom calls. Or we're actually on Teams. And so one of the things that I really love about the whole pandemic is that we're actually able to see each other more than we typically would be. So I literally see my Milan partners every day. And so that is a way that has helped us stay very connected. And even partners that are not in our offices, we get to see more. So that piece I really do love because we're seeing people more than we ever have before. But there's also obviously that piece where you totally miss that every day. I'm very much like a hugger, and so I miss all of that, and I think everybody does miss that personal touch. So we're all craving what it's going to look like and really figuring it all out together.
Yeah. We did all hug right before we got on stage, just to be clear. Well, it's great. And so, thinking about how everything's had to be digitized in a radically fast way, that also impacted the way, we all show up for our customers, not just the way, we work as our team. And, the three of you are in very, heavily impacted, fields. Jene, the world of live sports, had to turn on a dime. Andrea, you were always a digital, company, but your marketing plan was hinged very heavily around, live sports and other important tentpole events. Yep. And Sydney, obviously, the in-store experience. Wow. So I guess let's starting with you, Andrea.
Sure.
How have you pivoted? And tell us some of the things you learned that you'll be carrying forward into the.
Sure. Yes. So we were set to go out with a new brand campaign for E-Trade in March of 2020. And we were going to debut it in March Madness. If you remember, just days before that, the basketball conference, they called it. And then sort of the nation went into
Now
quarantine.
we can laugh. It was very upsetting.
It's very painful. I had an out-of-home buy ready to go in key cities across the country. So we had to do a radical redesign. What we did is we took a pause, we took stock of the moment, and we decided to do some customer research. E-Trade is always funny and irreverent in our style and our tone, and we wanted to make sure in such a heavy time that it would be okay to go out with work that was a little bit funny. And what we learned from customers is because it's E-Trade's authentically witty, we had permission to be funny, and people wanted a little levity. So we waited a few weeks, did some research. We did retool the commercials and the work a little bit to be sensitive to the environment, and we debuted the first ever virtual NFL draft. I don't know if you guys remember that, in April of 2020. Nobody knew what that would be like, but people were just dying for any live sports. And it was really the first live sports type event.
Yeah.
And I think there was a little bit of a voyeuristic thrill. People wanted to see into the homes of the owners and the coaches, if you remember that, and even a yacht, I think someone was working from. So it turned out to be a great debut. It was the NFL's highest rated draft ever. So it was a great place to show the new work. And I think, in terms of one thing we'll do that we're bringing forward is the way we create the work. We always, sent out, a limited number of folks to do a commercial shoot, whether, a few people from the office, a few people from the agency. In COVID, we wanted to continue to make new work, but it was not safe to do that. So we wired our shoots and we did them virtually with a very, very skeleton crew on the set. What that did is it gave a lot more people the opportunity to be part of a shoot, see how it goes down, give feedback, share their perspective. It was more inclusive. So from now, since that time, as things have loosened up a little bit, still a little bit under restriction, we're wiring the shoots and we're letting a lot more people participate virtually.
That's such a great development opportunity for the team.
It is.
And you mentioned that you had to make some creative changes based on your research. Can you talk us through that a little bit?
Sure. So we wanted to understand if the tone was right. Our commercials tend to be funny, so does our digital advertising. So we did focus groups, virtual focus groups, of course, at the time. We did some quant with some of our partners, and we learned that the work was fine. There might be some wording changes we needed to make given the sensitivity of the time. We also had to pull that out of home buy. So
what'd you do with that?
We did more. We put it on hold. We were able to negotiate putting it on about a 6-month hold, and then we started to slowly, as people returned to the streets.
That's right, when we thought we'd be back in 6 months.
Yeah,
that seemed like a good deal.
Yeah, it was a slow roll. Maybe I still have a credit at a few places. I don't think I fully went out with the at home, but we had to get very digital. And I think we did things like people, it was a surge in trading. I work at E-Trade, so brokerage. You've seen it's like part of pop culture. There's so much trading happening, and newer customers are getting into trading. And what we wanted to do is provide education. So we did tips in the time it takes to wash your hands. If you remember, it took 20 seconds to wash your hands. So we did a whole host of tips for people who are newly entering the market to make sure that they were educated and equipped. And were able to have financial wellness. So that was one twist, and something new that we did.
And Sydney, how about you? I know you launched a new campaign also during the pandemic.
Yeah, so we obviously had to quickly pivot. So summer is our big time. That's our holiday. And we had to be very, very sensitive to what was going on in the marketplace. So what we had originally planned for summer was something to be very engaging with groups of people. And so we had to really understand how to be sensitive to the fact that people are nervous to be around each other. They crave to be around each other. Do we want to actually show people together? Will people feel like we're disconnected? So we had to look at all of those different elements. And we really went with something that was just a little bit more basic because we just wanted to make sure that we were safe and sensitive. I think one of the biggest things that was really important to our customers is, as we started opening our stores back up, was really making sure that we provided a safe environment for them. Our product is very high touch. And so our cleaning protocol was far superior to any retailer that I've ever been in terms of, the actual process that we had the store associates go through, our social distancing that required not only for our associates but also for customers, masks, placing glasses that you tried on in a special place to get sanitized. So, we really, because we have so many locations and so many customers that typically come in, there were just a lot of sensitivities that we had to manage around, both from a customer experience standpoint as well as a communications and marketing standpoint.
And how did you stay engaged with your customers during like the period where stores were not open at all, or even when they were at limited capacity? It's just not the same.
Yeah, so we actually, again, pivoted. I think that's the key phrase, right? During the pandemic is pivoting, right? So we pivoted very quickly, and we created what we called the Sun Within experiences, which was more so around how do you create your own happy in your own environment. So we had yoga sessions that were on social media. We had dance sessions that were on social media. And so we really tried to provide a way that consumers could stay engaged with us, but look at us as kind of the hero for bringing Sunny into your own home. And so we really worked to make sure that we really had lots of different engagement that was all about you alone in your own home. And so that was pretty much our social platform throughout a large part of the pandemic.
That's amazing. And I'm going to buy those glasses after this. Jene, so you're Chief Growth Officer of Athletes First now, and you spent 6 years plus, at the NBA before that. So you've seen a lot, of transformation. But tell us about, the experience over the last 18 months and the way you've digitized the fan experience forever.
Yeah, so I would say we were relatively well positioned to pivot the business as compared to others in the sports industry, primarily because we're not a live events agency. We're not, we're not ticketing. We're not anything that really has to do with the in-arena experience. What we do is we represent groups of athletes, and those athletes and our clients happen to be the NBA Players Association and the NBA Retired Players Association. So you're talking about NBA players, some of the savviest personal brand builders in the world. So that was really key for us. Not to say we weren't affected, because what was happening was a lot of our work with our sponsors and with the brands that we work with was centered around the in-person fan experience, the content, the video that you were going to shoot. We had that all lined up post All-Star. And of course, March 11th happened, and then March 12th, when the NBA canceled its season and everyone else freaked out and realized how real this was. Our opportunity was really to pivot to sort of a social media influencer-based strategy. And the way that played out was we used 55 players in 57 different social activations throughout the year. And one of the things that was really great, one of the silver linings in the pandemic is, again, working with NBA players who I think are known for really taking very clear positions and being very authentic with who they are. And so we heard loud and clear from our clients at the Players Association that they didn't just want to put content out there, but it had to be really authentic to what was happening in the moment. So obviously through the pandemic, through social justice, a lot of our work and a lot of the work that we did with them was really centered around that. So, as examples, Kia's Accelerate the Good holiday campaign, which recognized, people who'd been forgotten and left behind in the pandemic. Working with Sprite on their voting rights campaign. Budweiser ABI did some amazing work really around vaccine awareness. So I think a lot of that for us was doing what the players had time to do, which was something different. We all changed the way that we consume content. We all had a lot of time to sit and be reflective and think about the things that really mattered. So from our perspective, it was a challenge in that it was a pivot. But it really allowed some players and some of the athletes we work with to really come out and be very authentic with who they are.
I love that, Jene. And all three of you are different industries. It's just told very different stories, but you have a common thread where commerce kind of shut down for a moment, and you focused on your customer, and you used it as a moment to really engage them as a brand. And I'm sure that affinity lasts and comes back when the commerce comes back. So I think that's wonderful. So you've all launched pretty significant campaigns during this time, and didn't have all the same tools in your box that you usually have. So I think it's really interesting to explore a little bit how your tactics for rolling out the campaigns have been a little bit different, and the advantages to kind of being more virtual, everybody going more digital acceleration, adoption of more apps, more time online has actually created even more opportunities, for us to connect with our customers in some way. So maybe I'll start with you, Andrea, and let's hear about how your marketing mix, in these latest campaigns has been a bit different.
Yeah, for sure. I think, we always like to experiment. I think audio got very popular during the pandemic, podcasts. So, we changed our mix to try new channels, looking at what are the most popular. We also returned to the Super Bowl for the first time in 3 years, which was, a big decision. During the pandemic to come back in such a big way.
Risky.
It was, and we had to be really thoughtful about that spot as well, and how we would get customer feedback and while protecting. There's a lot of confidentiality around the Super Bowl, and wanting to not have a reveal too early. But we engage customers in digital ways. Again, more digital panels. I think social justice loomed large, just as large as the pandemic. So it was really important for us to focus on diversity as well, and give back to the community. So those were other themes I think over the past year that we definitely explored with customers in very digital ways. I think we continue to collect feedback. It's incredibly important. We always want to put the customer at the center and kind of understand, what they need, how do we solve their pain points. So I think that continued to be really important to us. Continuous customer feedback loop more than ever, to make sure that what we were doing was value added, was relevant. And then, we wanted to make sure that we pivoted in all the appropriate ways as we launched campaigns and got feedback and, iterated the work for all of the different channels and experimenting that we've been doing.
And Jene, I think you told me that when you were working in international, NBA, that they were always digital, and that this was the period of the big catch-up, here in the U.S.
Yes.
Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah.
So I'll start with a little fun fact that I didn't know, but prior to coming into the NBA, I was based in London and heading up international marketing. And one of the things that's really kind of surprised me is the number. It's 80% of the NBA's fan base sits outside of the U.S.
Wow.
And so think about what that means, right?
Yeah.
It means that 80% of your fan base very rarely gets the chance, if ever in their lifetime, to experience a live game, to actually go to a live game, to actually be in an arena. And so what that meant, not only that, the time zones. So the games, NBA games typically will come in at 2 or 3 in the morning if you're in Europe. They'll come in at 8 or 9 in the morning if you're in Asia. And so the whole notion of building a virtual fan experience is something that's been happening in the NBA, also soccer, these big global leagues, has been happening for a long time. It's a different scenario, though, when you actually are in the States. So a lot of the things that I see when we're talking about content and building a really engaged and connected customer, that's really your only option when you're talking about a product that just you can't touch or feel. So a lot of what I see now happening is really, as soon as the live events went away, as soon as the in-arena experience went away, there was this moment of, oh, what do we do now? We're losing our fans. They are leaving the ecosystem, and how do we actually keep them engaged when we don't have that live anchor? And so in the US, I think a lot of what is happening is really catching up to what the international fan experience always has been.
So you were like, I've got this.
I know exactly what to do.
Got this, guy, no problem.
I got it. Okay, and Sydney, how about you?
I think a lot for us is similar to what Andrew said, is really listening to what our consumers were saying. So one of the things that we really leaned into, probably more than we ever have before, is leaning into our associates. So our associates, and my GM is just like absolutely incredible with this. He is a real people first leader. And so it was important for us to lean in even more to our associates, because if you lean into your associates, then automatically the consumer becomes the center. And so we really spent a lot of time more engaged with our associates than we've ever been before. As I mentioned previously, our teams meetings, getting more FaceTime with associates across the United States, understanding what they're hearing from consumers from a firsthand, in the store basis, partnering that with actual data and research that we had. And so that was really, really important for us. And some of the things that we really learned, again, is that consumers are really, and probably still are from what we're hearing, they're very obsessed still with their health and the safety of coming into an environment that they can feel comfortable in, that they know that there are protocols that are taking, strict protocols that are taking place. So despite the fact that we have evolved quite a bit in the past 18 months, that's still very, very important for consumers. So we really took an approach of marrying the data with the anecdotal from the store associates. And our store associates are our everyday commercial, so it makes no difference how much we spend in media. Every single day, the associates are our front line, and so that was really important for them to really see how important they are in bringing the brand more life than it has ever had before, and making sure that consumers feel really safe.
And Sunglass Hut has always been, a major live TV advertiser.
Yes.
So over the course of last year, when viewership went way down and other types of engagement were popping up, how did you handle that with making sure that you're still getting that foot traffic into the store?
So last year we paused all television, as many retailers did. And so as I mentioned earlier, some of the social media and influencer engagement was really critically important for us. What we really did focus in on is how we were going to come back this year, and how we were going to bring things to life, and really, make the brand exciting again, kind of showing our multi-dimensional facets of the overall business. And so we came back this year from a television perspective during summer, and one of the things that we found is that television is playing an even more important role. So there's always this conversation around, everybody is going digital, everything is digital, and digital obviously partnered with traditional media is really important, but because people are in their homes so much more, and they probably will be, as people are going back to work, it's going to still be that hybrid model. There's a lot more engagement with connected TV, just the television set in general. And so, we really looked at that as a place that was very important for us, married with all of our other media elements. And so what we found is that, when we look at our brand measures continue to increase over this past year. And so we're looking to kind of capture those learnings and take them into 2022 with us. But for us, it's definitely making sure that we're very balanced in our approach of how we're investing our media. But for us, television is still a place of importance for us.
Yeah. And honestly, as a marketing geek, I thought the rise of connected TV was the coolest thing to happen. During the pandemic, I never would have foreseen, how rapidly, that accelerated.
Right.
And it's really neat to be able to segment audiences and deliver that high impact story television, the TV kind of storytelling experience, which, I really never thought that was going to happen, in my lifetime. If you would have asked me, 5 years ago. And I think that's interesting what you were saying about understanding the sentiment of, how some people are very health conscious, maybe the majority, but other people are still looking for deals or the FOMO, oriented style. So to be able to serve up, different stories to those different, segments is amazing. And I know you have a pretty sophisticated segment strategy as well, Andrea.
For sure. I think, at E-Trade, we've always tried to be extremely data driven. There's so many different types of investors who engage with us on the platform. We have seen record trading over the last few years, given what's going on in the market. So we've, very similar to what Sydney was saying, we want to be relevant to all these different customer segments and types. Whether you're a novice investor or you're a sophisticated trader, we want to make sure that we really upped the amount of content that we were producing to explain market volatility, to provide access to experts through live video or webinars and events. So that's been a big key for us. What we do is, from the moment a new customer fills out the application, we ask about their level of investing experience, and then we tailor their experience from onboarding through through their entire client experience. We really try to play back what we think will be the most relevant and personalized experience for them. So that's really important for us, and we continue to learn over time from how customers engage with our platform. We get smarter, we understand their preferences, and we really try to deliver on those expectations.
Yeah. And Jene, do you feel that the fans are starting to expect a more personalized experience from teams, brands that are doing sports-related advertising, and maybe even the players? How are you seeing that play out?
Yeah, absolutely. They let us know all the time, so, right? We always know where we stand with our fans. So, yes, I think there is, especially in this last year, there's kind of two things that I've seen emerge, and it was really just accelerating the inevitable, what was going to happen anyways. But you look at, what I think about as sort of gamifying the game, right? Like the idea that fans want to be even closer into the game than they already were. It's like, how much closer can you actually get without literally putting yourself physically on the court? But that's what we're seeing now. So we're seeing that in online betting. We're seeing that in predictive social gaming. We're seeing that across the board, that fans really continue to want to be more and more and more engaged. That's why they engage with athletes across as many platforms as they do, because it's all putting yourself kind of in that virtual space, and also feeling like you build a one-on-one relationship with these literally global icons. And so, going back to the idea of what it truly means to be a global audience as a sports fan, it means feeling like you know someone that you never have even met, never have had the relationship with. So I think fans, I don't know where it ends, because it is every day there's something else that gets you closer to the game. But that whole idea of sort of gamifying the game, that's where I see this going with fans as the next place.
And earlier today we had Michael Rubin here for a special talk, talking about trading card NFTs, another amazing thing I wouldn't have seen coming. What do you see, as the future evolutions of these types of technology in sports?
Yeah, first of all, let me say I think Fanatics has just done such an amazing job at really doing what we're talking about doing, which is bringing kind of keeping the fan in the ecosystem. And I think NFTs is just an extension of what they do so well already. NFTs, nobody could have predicted, somebody would pay something for a digital,
So much money.
So much money. But I think that it'll be interesting to see where NFTs go next, because right now it's kind of the one-on-one, right? The single asset, which is the digital asset. What's going to be interesting to see is how brands can really engage, because it really is, you're tapping into nostalgia, which has always been, a cornerstone of the consumer, right? Like having an emotional experience with the brand, especially when you're talking about the brand being a sports brand, is really important. And so what NFTs have done has tapped into that and taken it to the next level. So, it's going to be interesting to see how closely NFTs can be integrated into the full marketing experience, because it's one piece in the chain as a consumer, as a fan, that gets you to that brand. So I'm excited. I'm not making any predictions about it, because I'm still trying to catch up with esports and how that's all, how that's evolved over the years. But I just think it is one more link in the chain.
Yeah. So you mentioned nostalgia, and there's definitely some kind of joy economy, certainly overtaken the U.S. Recently, we're going into our second holiday season in a pandemic, but it feels very different, this time than last year. And certainly, at Zeta, we're seeing data, across all of the billions of websites of people showing a lot more interest, much higher bookings in travel, much higher ticket purchases for travel, dream trips, right? Not like your practical go see your family down the road trips, but people really have it pent up and they're now willing to spend to go, chase that joy. We're also seeing, uptick in retail. Still a very different, holiday season than usual. We saw people starting shopping. 40% of consumers start shopping like October 1st. Yeah. That's never happened before, and certainly that's going to continue. So, Sydney, how are you anticipating this holiday season to play out?
So we are looking for big things, of course, very, very big things. But I think one of the things that we're really excited about, there's obviously a whole supply chain issue, which is plaguing so many facets of our entire lives. One of the benefits that we really have and we're very, very grateful for is that because we manufacture pretty much all of our product, we don't have that challenge so much. So when we look at an opportunity to really be a gifting destination for consumers, we've got no inventory issues. We've got incredibly beautiful product, some of the best product that people who have been in the business for many years have said they haven't seen in a really long time. So we're really looking for, forward to being that place that consumers are seen as a destination. We've kind of been building it up over the past couple of years and pulsing it in all of the different gifting moments. And so we're really excited about that. One of the things that we're also seeing is that consumers are coming into the store. So obviously traffic is down for everybody, but what we're finding is that consumers have a real intent to purchase once they come into the store. And so they're doing a lot of their browsing, probably more than they ever have before, online. And so when they come into that store, they are ready to purchase. And so we are very, very excited that we will, be a place that they can come and know that they're going to get quality, incredible product. We've got, so many benefits over the competition in terms of different services that we offer. And so we're really, really encouraged and excited. Obviously next week, this weekend is is super big, starting off the holiday season. But as you said, shoppers are starting a lot earlier. And so, the anticipation is that it's going to be longer, but also that the volume is going to be even stronger than it was, even though it's going to be spread out over, many more multiple days than it has been previously.
Yeah, I love how you said big things.
Yeah, absolutely.
All of you, found ways, to grow your business, even when, things seemed bleak. But this is certainly the sentiment that we're feeling now, that, no matter how hard your business may have been hit, your industry, how much you struggled to make your pivot, at this point, marketers and, brands everywhere are feeling very confident and seem to be all gearing up for, a banner 2022 to get back to growth maybe better than ever. Andrea, is that how you E-Trade are approaching it?
Yeah, I think, we've seen this has just been an incredible time over the last few years in the markets. Just, incredible volume. I think people maybe who are home had more time to get into the market for the first time, try trading. But what we want to do and what's really core to our mission and our purpose is to get people just to get off the bench and take action. I think what the pandemic did is just, made you not want to wait till retirement to enjoy your life. And it really kind of showed you that, nothing's guaranteed. So we tried to really lean in on that and encourage consumers to take charge in whatever the way they could. Investing, planning, starting to think through their financial health. And I think that we've got a strong response from consumers. Stop Waiting, Start Investing is the latest platform that we're in market with. And I think it's really resonating because people don't want to have to wait a long time. They, if you think about the old school advertising, older folks with their legs dangling off the dock, it just feels too far away. And so we want to help customers enjoy some of that happiness now.
Yeah. This is that same YOLO sentiment we're seeing
YOLO,
everywhere now. Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
And how about you, Jene? Like, investment levels, a number of activities. Are you returning to like 2019 levels or even greater in 2022?
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of excitement, which is great. And investment, but in different ways. I think going back to authenticity and return on investment and things that were very easy to measure in the past. I think now, because there is so much, I love the term joy economy. There's sort of the intangibles, right? That brands are looking for, and that consumers. The reason brands are looking for it is because consumers are looking for it. And so I think that's what's really exciting is brands are trying something different, trying to get in at a different angle. All these new platforms across the sports industry have been really exciting, and I think it's been great because people are willing to take risk now in ways that we probably even didn't do even before the pandemic in terms of the creativity and the types of partnerships we're seeing.
And Sydney, you have a big anniversary campaign coming up, right?
Yeah, well, we're actually in the midst of our 50th anniversary. And so Sunglass Hut started as a very small kiosk in Florida back in 1971. And so, that has been one of the things that has fueled us this year is that, we've got incredible brands that we work with, luxury brands, Ray-Ban, we own, Oakley we own. And so throughout the course of the year, we were able to bring consumers, exclusive product that we've never been able to bring them before. Which was very, very exciting. Our heritage is extremely important to us. It really gives the credibility to consumers to understand that we are the House of Sun. And so we're going to be celebrating all the way through the end of this year. So lots of more fun exclusives to come. And so we're just very, very excited about it. One of the things that I mentioned to Crystal earlier, as you guys may have heard, but we have an incredible smart glass with Facebook. And so we are super excited about that. And so we're really marketing it for the holidays as, the gift of the season. It's a way for consumers to stay connected and in the moment. So, we're always taking out our phones, but we're fumbling around with it, and so we're really not able to be engaged in the moment. And so these Ray-Ban glasses that are powered by Facebook allow consumers to do all of the great things that they like to do on their phones, but stay in the moment. And so we're super, super excited about that. And so that's the way we've been kind of rounding out our year this year, and it is a big focus for us as we get into the holidays. So.
Yeah, I know both of you would call that kind of the second screen, right? Where you're always
I'm thinking about how to get in there.
Right. Yeah, I think the next question I have for everyone is what's something that you're never going to do the same again as we move back into the next normal. But I think that second screen actually is one that I could say because I feel like we spent the last couple of years fighting with consumers for their attention on one screen.
Right.
And now that we've just accepted there's two at all times,
right.
We can design around that.
Right.
That's true. I think that's true.
How about you, Andrea?
I think that's a very good point. I think we do have to, acceptance and patience are some things from the pandemic we'll all take forward, but we do have to accept consumer behavior for what it is. And I think that's one good observation, and have strategies, that work across everyone's divided attention to try to break through. But I think, for us, we'll just continue to see where is the puck going, try to get there first, try to provide something innovative and differentiated to connect with our consumers, continue to learn about them. What's so great is all the development in data, machine learning, algorithms. It's getting very important to our entire marketing practice. And that's really helping, unlock a lot of value and relevance. So we're excited to continue in 2022 to get smarter so that we can deliver more value.
Yeah. And how about you, Jene? What's something you'll never do again, after this?
Oh, never do again. Well, I'll never do it the same way. I probably won't watch TV in live sports the same way because of the second, and third, and fourth, and fifth screens. There's so many places. I don't think I'll commute the same way. I'm an avid podcast listener.
Yeah.
So the whole idea of commuting, as I said, I think business travel is changing and just travel in general. But even just the simple commute into the office, I'm always connected to something, and I wasn't that way before. So lots of great
so are your
podcasts out there.
consumers. And how about you, Sydney?
I think never say never. I think, the past 18 months have really taught us that, you can really overcompensate or compensate enough to make up for what was lost. And so I don't think any of us imagined that anything like this would be on us. I can't imagine, 19 months ago thinking, oh, all of our stores will be closed and we'll be fine. And so I think, resilience was something that all of us really saw. Persistence and making a way out of a way that, we would have never, ever imagined. So I think that is really important when you think about what that means just for humans in general. And how we are able to accomplish what we would have never imagined that we could have. So, I am praying, as I'm sure all of us are, that, we will not have to deal with anything like this again. But I am confident that based off of what we've been through in the past 18 months, that we will, we can be successful with anything that may try to, come and knock us down. So, we'll kick its butt.
Here. Yeah. Especially Jene, she had it.
Right.
She's like, put me in, coach. So, right now, there's thousands of marketing community members, dialed in listening to this. And, because it's that time of year, everyone's deep, in annual planning. So I guess for our last question, what's one piece of advice you would give to all of these marketers about how to approach 2022? How about you, Andrea? Can start.
Oh, I get to start all these, don't I?
You shouldn't have said so close to me.
I know. I'm going to switch. I think, given it's hard, we don't know what's going to happen, and the unknown, I think just creating more flexibility in your marketing planning is something I would advise. So whether you use an 80-20 rule, I think you reserve 20% for the unknown, for experimentation, for innovation, hopefully all positive things. But I think that could provide some, helpful capacity. I think just continue to encourage all the creative problem solving and agility that we've all been, that the marketing teams out there have done such an incredible job doing. It's super inspiring.
What's one piece of advice for you, Jene?
So my advice would be don't forget your internal customers. I say that as someone who's spent a lot of time working in satellite offices and having to be a generalist. And one of the things that I see now is we always talk about connected consumers and consumers are more connected. But the reality is marketing departments are more connected than ever within their organizations. And so you're increasingly more dependent on your chief technology officers, your CFO, your procurement, every single piece of it, supply chain, all of that is now connected. So it's no longer, we're not in an era where we're saying, oh, we've made this great product and go out and market it. And I feel like because there are so many solutions, as a marketer, you have lots of tools to work with, but don't forget to bring the internal organization along with you, because a lot of the resources and investment that is required to do these really amazing things that we want to do has to start internally, and make sure that you have the support and the buy-in that you need.
Fantastic. How about you, Sydney?
Well, I think they've captured a lot, but I think the one thing that I would say is remember to be good to yourself. We have to take care of ourselves, and I think that what we did in the past 18 months is I think we've all worked harder than we ever have before. And I think that it's important that we slow down and take a minute for ourselves, even if it's just a half an hour, and remember that if we're not the best personally, then the teams that we're leading don't get everything that they need from us. And so, that would be really my advice, in addition to what these lovely ladies have said already.
Oh, well, thank you so much, all of you, for joining us today. I mean, I could talk to these ladies forever, but I think it's time for one of y'all to win an Oculus. Ooh, so we better wrap it up over here. Thank you for joining us.